What's up, everybody? Kyle here at Let's Talk Wax with Predicting Superstars Episode 3. In this series, I'm breaking down the career stats of today's superstars and comparing them against the career stats of today's top minor league players. Now, before we get started, if you guys want to check out some of my exclusive content, head over to my Patreon page. I've got tons of stuff over there for only $5 a month. I'll put a link to it in the description. I'm also running a ton of free giveaways on all of my social media platforms, courtesy of Break Grading. They sent me a ton of cards and I'm giving them all away to you guys in our Prospectors Challenge giveaways. I'll put a link in the description of this video to Break Grading if you guys want to check them out as well. Now, for those of you who have not seen this series before on my channel, I'm going to explain quickly how it works. I compiled a ton of data from some of today's top superstars, including Mike Trout, Juan Soto, Fernando Tatis Jr., Ronald Acuna Jr., Mookie Betts, Vladimir Guerrero Jr., Rafael Devers, Nolan Arenado, Freddie Freeman, Bryce Harper, Yordan Alvarez, Jose Ramirez, and Manny Machado. I collected batting average, career ISO, career K percentage, career K to walk, career OPS, stolen bases per plate appearance, and what age these guys performed at every level. And I compiled all this data into averages in this green bar down here below, and I'm going to compare those numbers against the career minor league stats of 5 top prospects. And the 5 prospects we're looking at today are Andy Pages, Warming Bernabel, Noelvi Marte, Corbin Carroll, and Jackson Chourio. Today's first prospect is Andy Pages, and you can see below on the graph I have his career batting average, career ISO, career K percentage, career K to walk, his OPS, stolen bases per plate appearance, and his age right now in AA. In the blue bar, you can see how I scaled this data, turn it into an actual number, and create weights for different statistics that were more important to me than not. Now, in the purple bar, which is really important, shows the differential between each prospect and the superstar. So you can see that Andy Pages had a -51 differential in career batting average versus the superstars. So he took a -51 point loss in that category. There are a lot of guys in the negatives, and anything above 0 is really, really good. So Andy Pages is 21.6 years old, playing in AA. He's a corner outfielder with the Los Angeles Dodgers. Now, Pages is kind of a one-trick pony. He doesn't play a premium position defensively, but he has a lot of power. He's not going to hit for a ton of average. He doesn't have elite or game-changing speed, but like I said, he's got a ton of power. His career MLB numbers, he hit .258 with a .266 ISO, a 25.4 K percentage, 191 K to walk ratio, a 904 OPS, and like I said, the speed isn't overwhelming, so he only took a .009 in stolen bases per plate appearances. Now, this season so far, he's holding pretty close to what he's done throughout his career. His batting average is about the same. His ISO's down a little bit from his career, but he's also very young, playing in AA. His K numbers are also pretty good. He's a sub 25 K percentage and just right at 2 K to walk ratio, and he's got 19 home runs on the year. So Pages took hits in 4 categories. Like I said before, he lost 51 points in batting average. He lost several points in the K percentage column. He lost 99 actually. A K to walk ratio, he lost 35, and stolen bases per plate appearance, he lost 10. Now, if you go back to the slide before, you can see that the superstars' K numbers are just absolutely elite, and that's where most of the prospects on this series take their biggest hits are in the K numbers, K percentage and K to walk ratio. But Pages gained points in career ISO. He took 120 points higher than the superstars, which I said he's got enormous power, and his career OPS, he gained 26 points there. So he finished with a total score of -10.8, which really isn't that bad. And like I said, negative numbers are not really that bad. Our next prospect is Warming Bernabel with the Colorado Rockies. He's 20.1 years old, playing in high A right now, and he's got pretty good speed power combo working for him right now, and he's got a pretty solid career batting average. Now, his career numbers, he's hit .302 with a 177 ISO, 13.2 K percentage, a 177 K to walk ratio, 843 OPS, and a 0.21 stolen bases per plate appearance. This season, much like Pages, he's held pretty close to his career numbers, And that's one thing with prospecting that I really like to look for, is how a player's career numbers match up against what they're doing in the season. And right now, Bernabel's hitting .324 with a 193 ISO, 13.6 K percentage, a 1.70 K to walk ratio, a 900 OPS. He's got 14 home runs and 23 stolen bases. So Bernabel does a lot of things really well. He's not, like I said, a one-trick pony like Pages. He hits for average. He's got a little bit of speed. He hits for a little bit of power. His K numbers are elite. And that's one thing I really like about young prospects, especially guys who are kind of playing under their level, like Warming Bernabel. So he took very small dings in career batting average. He took small dings for K numbers. K to walk ratio, he lost 21 points, but his K percentage, he actually gained 20 points. Career OPS, he lost 35, and stolen bases per plate appearance, he only gained 2 points there. What kind of hurt Bernabel the most was his age per level. A lot of the superstars were much younger in high A than Bernabel is right now, but we could run these numbers at the end of the season if he got promoted to Double A, and he wouldn't take as big of a hit on age level. So he finished with a score of negative 11.2, just under Andy Pages, and he's definitely a guy to keep your eye on in the Colorado Rockies organization. Next up, we've got Noelvi Marte, who was just recently traded to the Cincinnati Reds, 20.8 years old and high A shortstop. Noelvi Marte had a really sluggish start to the 2022 season. There were a lot of guys that had great years in 2021 that just kind of struggled a little bit to get some traction going in 2022. And Marte is one of them, but he's really picked up since the beginning of 2022. His career minor league numbers are pretty solid. He's got a 282 batting average, a 191 ISO, 21.2 K percentage, 1.95 K to walk ratio, 840 OPS, and 0.44 stolen bases per plate appearance. His 2022 numbers right now are very linear with what he's done throughout his career. They're almost exactly the same. He's got 17 home runs and 14 stolen bases so far this year. Now, Marte took the biggest dings in batting average, K percentage, K to walk ratio, and OPS. And like I said, the majority of these prospects will take losses on the K numbers because the superstars numbers were just so good. He didn't lose too many points for age level, and Marte's a guy who we could see in Double A, you know, much like some people on this list like Bernabel by the end of the season, which would kind of boost his score later in the year. And one thing to note is that these scores could change throughout the course of the year. And at the end, you'll see I put a date on all the different scores, so you know when they actually happened. If Noelvi Marte got really hot, got promoted to Double A, and put up some really good numbers, he could kind of boost his score at the end of the year. So we can run multiple prospects through this system at different times to see, you know, where they were at certain times throughout their career. But Marte finished with a negative 15.4, which again is not that bad. And he is an exciting young player to watch. There's going to be some issues, I think, with him playing shortstop with guys like Ellie De La Cruz and, you know, Matt McLean ahead of him. But I think he's kind of a bat-first guy anyway. So Noelvi Marte is a player to watch for sure. Our next player is Corbin Carroll. And when I say Corbin Carroll is really good, I mean he is really good. Right now, he is my favorite player in all of minor league baseball just because he does everything exceptional well. And I mean everything exceptional well. He's 21.9, playing in AAA right now as a center fielder with the Arizona Diamondbacks. His career numbers are just ludicrous. He's held a .311 batting average, a .298 ISO, 22.5 K percentage, 1.40 K to walk ratio, a 1.031 OPS, and 0.41 stolen bases to plate appearance. These numbers are actually crazy. His 2022 season, they're even better in some aspects. His ISO is a bit higher. His OPS is still in the 1.0 range. His 2022 batting average is .311. Corbin Carroll does everything and plays a premium defense in center field. Like I said, he's one of my favorite minor leaguers. The dude is just so good, and I think he takes a lot of knocks because he's in a weaker organization. But He is my favorite minor leaguer right now by far. The only dings he took were K percentage and his age for Double-A. But what you have to understand about Carroll is he missed the entire 2020 season due to COVID. He had shoulder surgery in 2021, and he hasn't played hardly any baseball. And imagine where he would be if he hadn't had those setbacks. He could be in the major leagues right now. So he gained 2 points in batting average. He gained 152 points in career ISO because a lot of the superstars were very, very young when they were going through the minors, and the last thing to develop usually is power. But Carroll's showing a lot of power right now for such a small dude. It's really cool. He's got gained 16 points in K to walk ratio, 153 points in OPS, and 22 points in stolen bases per plate appearance. He finished with a score of 20.5. It actually toppled Lawler from the top. This is the best score we've seen on this series to date, and it is absolutely elite. I remember when Lawler, I think he scored like a 15 or so on the first episode, and I said, man, nobody's going to beat that. And I ran Carroll through the system, and he just absolutely dominated the numbers with a 20.5. So he could get called up at any time right now, and he's going to be an exciting player. Make sure you keep your eyes on Corbin Carroll with the Arizona Diamondbacks. All right, our last prospect on this episode is Jackson Chourio, probably one of the hottest players in minor league baseball right now. He is the youngest player in High A. He was promoted about 2 weeks ago at 18.4. He is not a shortstop. As you can see on his card, he is getting reps in center field with the Milwaukee Brewers. Now, there's not a huge sample size on Chourio, but there's a lot of new top 100 lists that came out in the past few weeks that have Chourio actually in the top 5, you know, with just a small sample size. But his numbers are pretty crazy for an 18.4-year-old. Now, what you want to consider is a lot of these stats were accumulated in A-ball. Like I said, he's promoted 2 weeks ago, so the majority of these stats came from when he was playing in A-ball, but still he was only 18.4. Now, career-wise, he's hitting .314 with a .223 ISO, and that's just nuts for an 18.4-year-old to have a plus 200 ISO. I always say power is the last thing to come, but it's already there for Chourio, which is really exceptional. He took some knocks, took some big knocks, and I think this is the one thing to watch with him are his K numbers. He had a 22.5% K rate, which isn't terrible, but the K to walk ratio compared to the superstars was a bit high at nearly 2.5. Career OPS of 916 and a stolen bases per plate appearance, he's putting up .040. Now, so far in 2022, he's holding really true to his career numbers, which is exciting when prospects do that. He's hitting .320 with a .252 ISO, a 26.8 K percentage, and a 3.62 K to walk ratio, 943 OPS, 13 homers, 11 stolen bases. And going back to those K numbers, you can see they're a bit higher in 2022 than they were for his career K numbers. He's hit 26.8 K percentage and 3.62 K to walk ratio. So that's something to watch with Chourio. And they're not bad K numbers, but when you're comparing him against the superstars of today and what they did in the minor leagues, they aren't that good. But like I said, he took only 2 dings, and they were in the K numbers. He gained 5 points in batting average, 77 in ISO, 38 in OPS, and 1 point in stolen bases per plate appearance. And he obviously gained in his age level. Like I said, 18.4 playing in High A. He gained 22 points with that. So his total score is a negative 1.9, which is really, really good. As I said at the beginning of this, anything above 0 is better than what the superstars did. So at the age of 18.4, he's performing really close, and he's very linear with today's MLB superstars career stats-wise. So in this episode, we have Corbin Carroll with a 20.5 in first place, followed by Jackson Chourio with a negative 1.9, Andy Pages with a negative 10.8, Warming Bernabel with a negative 11.2, and Noelvi Marte with a negative 15.4. Now, my favorite part about this series is comparing these guys and putting them all on a top 10 list. So we are 3 episodes deep, and we finally had some cuts. Our all-time score leader right now after this episode is Corbin Carroll with a 20.5 that I ran on August 6th. Second place, we've got Jordan Lawler with a 12.1 that was accrued on July 14th. Adiel Amador in third place all-time with a 1.4. Anthony Volpe, fourth place all-time with a 0.6 in the positive. And in fifth place, we have Jackson Chourio with a negative 1.9. Now, the rest of the top 10, Robert Hassel, Andy Pages, Warming Bernabel, Noelvi Marte, and Tristan Casas. And this was a really cool episode because actually all 5 of the guys that I ran made it to the all-time top 10. And I'm going to continue to track the all-time top 10 through the series, and it's going to be a lot of fun to see where some guys land. And like I said before, we can run these guys multiple times because they may improve, they may get promoted, they may gain points, lose points. But right now, Corbin Carroll's score of 20.5 is going to be very difficult to beat. That's going to wrap up this episode, guys. Be sure to check out my Patreon page. I'll put a link to it in the description of this video. Lots of really cool stuff over there for only $5 a month. I'm also giving away a ton of free cards courtesy of Break Grading. I'll put a link to the end of the video description to their website where you guys can get your cards subbed. Head over to my social media outlets on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook to join my Prospectors Challenge giveaways. Now, I'm pretty good at Facebook and I'm not so good at Twitter and Instagram, but I'm learning. So head over there and check me out and join our Prospectors Challenge giveaways courtesy of Break Grading. I want to give a quick shout out to all my level 3 patrons: Tom Barta, Max, Brad, Gary D. Childers Jr., Just Dingers Breaks, 909 Sportscards on Instagram, and Kenny Winkles. Another huge shout out to everyone who supports me over on Patreon. We have about 130 members over there, and it's a really cool community. I also appreciate everyone who supports me on my channel and subscribes. If you guys have anyone you'd like to add to the Predicting Superstars list, just drop them in the comments and I'll throw them in the randomizer for our next video. Y'all